Hi, everybody. Welcome to our weekly event, the Eros Sutra study. I am your host today, Maya Gilbert. During this event, we will dive into the teachings of the Eros Sutras with Aubrey Fuller. Aubrey is a lead creator and a 14-year practitioner of orgasmic meditation. You are the artist of your own life, and the world is waiting for your expression to awaken and draw out what it wants to bring forth. This is a bold way to think about living. Eros, the awakening to the pervasive intimacy of erotic love, is the fuel and the connective force that guides us into manifesting who we really are. There is no right or wrong way to approach the Eros Sutras. The agreement is that you will go in and wrestle out what the truth is for you in order to claim your strength and cultivate your deep spiritual power. There is no better way to start than dive in and begin digesting what you can chew. Enjoy yourself completely. The format for today's event will include an opening dedication by Leah Mendelsohn and the reading of today's sutra, followed by a talk from Aubrey. Then we will open the floor to questions. Bring every question that you might have, anything that you want to ask. There is no wrong question or something that's too simple. So anything you'd like to share, please feel free, and we will conclude with any kind of reflections and a closing prayer. We will now start with our dedication from Leah, followed by the sutra.
The prayer of the red thread. To the warriors of the red thread who follow their knowing no matter what, who embrace that they are power itself and make art and medicine from pain. To the benevolent beings of Eros who vow to bring heaven to earth rather than escape in the secure comfort of sleep or collapse in apathy and nihilism. To our many protectors in every dimension, our angels, our animal angels, and our feline guardians. To all those who came before and paved the way, and to the places that have held us and revealed the mysteries to us. To the underground mycelium network of information exchange. As the holders of this craft and the artists of the erotic mandala, we offer the very best of our practice, the full excellence of our hearts and efforts. We offer our joy and our deep abiding enjoyment.
And with that, I will give you Aubrey Fuller.
So beautiful, Leah. I love that so much. Okay, well, hello, everyone. I have to look up here. You guys are a little bit down here, so if you see me looking back and forth, that's what's happening. Welcome to Sutra Study, Tuesday Sutra Study. I'm very happy to be here. We're doing a sutra today called Blowing Out on the Good. And I think most of you, I see a lot of the same people on each week. And so I think a lot of you have been, going sutra by sutra with us through sutra study for the last however many months. And the last one was called Threatened by Good. And so this one's going to take us a little bit deeper into this whole idea that, the good in life coming in, and wherever we have trouble receiving it or digesting it or allowing it in, has, it coming in kind of threatens our identity. And it's a different way of thinking about things. We're used to kind of thinking like, well, of course I want all the good to come in. I want all the good possible to come in, but there's a whole remaking of the identity that happens when we really let it in. So this is actually the last sutra in the having level section. And then I can't remember what section we move into after that, but we've done some really good work together in the having level section. It's intense. It's a deep, excavation. It's like a deep carving down into the soul of these kind of ways of looking at things, different than how we usually do. And it is a deep excavation. So having level section, it's a good one. And this is the perfect sutra to wrap this one up. And I'll say, traditionally throughout all Eros one taste work that I've done for 14 to 15 years now. Whatever topic you're going to teach on, or whatever topic you end up coaching on, or whatever topic is, you know, the course, the theme of the course that's coming up, or whatever it is the topic that you then are inside of personally, on a personal level. And so definitely, I was really feeling this sutra and this sutra study in the last couple of days, and kind of like coming into this feeling of like, what does that mean to be threatened by good? And what does that mean to blow out on the good? And what does it mean to allow in the good? And what does it mean to like let it in such a way that it remakes your identity into an identity that makes sense for how much good is actually coming in, and not an identity that's just so used to only finding things to complain about, or, you know, only kind of oriented towards looking for problems, and instead begins to be oriented towards looking for what's good and what needs to be acknowledged and what needs to be attended to and taken in and appreciated in order to digest the good. And so, yeah, I've been really inside of this one myself lately. There's been a lot of good coming in, a lot of just like richness and intense life and goodness pouring in. And so, yeah, headed into this one today, I was like talking to Maya beforehand and was like, I can't think of, I have so many stories about blowing out on the good. I can't even narrow in on a single one of them. And I can't pick one. And I just felt very like my body almost felt kind of shaky as I was kind of landing in the deeper, like the deeper transmission of this sutra. So I feel like I landed in it. And so let's read it together and then talk about it. All right, number 29, blowing out on the good. Each time something good happens and a new experience enters, our identity must open wider in order to contain it. The tumescent mind will be keenly aware something fundamental in our being has shifted and will experience discomfort. If we do not consciously support the opening we've just had, our identity will reflexively contract back into homeostasis. We sustain our access to and ultimately integrate this good by acknowledging it happened and doing so in exact proportion to precisely what was met within ourselves. The tumescent mind gaslights the erotic mind and says, no, that opening didn't just happen. And in fact, we're not capable of meeting the aspect of ourselves we just opened to. In order to put us back in our place, it has to beat us up in direct proportion to the amount we opened. One of the only places gaslight is used in the sutras, I'm pretty sure. Maybe one of two. Our tendency will be to make much ado out of creating intimacy, as if that is the difficult part of the process. We will think and say we want intimacy, but the issue is not that it is unattainable. It is that the true price of intimacy comes to bear on the back end, as the tumescent mind tries to orient and assert itself again. And in this case, you know, the good coming in is often intimacy. Is it always intimacy? Probably it's always intimacy. The good coming in is always some kind of intimacy. And so, you know, it's not that like we make much ado about needing to create intimacy, like that's the difficult part of the process, but it's more like intimacy is our natural state of being. It's who we are. And so it's not so much about creating intimacy as it is opening for the intimacy that's wanting to come in. What we must do is stay inside of it and help it remain as open as it became from the change. This is where the tumescent mind will try to snap us back just as powerfully as we opened. Should we succumb not only will it close and the tumescent mind will deny it happened, it'll just deny that any good came in and probably find a problem. But because a closure has occurred inside of us, the tumescent mind will now perceive that person or place that we had this opening experience with as a threat to itself, as a threat to the tumescent mind. It will then begin to create distance from the person or place. And if we do not keep it open, the tumescent mind will turn against this person or place, often convincing us in the process. If we begin to process and analyze our feelings following a closure, it becomes the toxic mimic of continuing to stroke for opening. Processing starts with the idea that something is wrong that we must make right. So it's like, fundamentally rooted in an illusion that something's wrong. And we are willing to spend significant energy, most often the energy released in the opening itself, to run the intensity down and justify closing and demonizing. On the other hand, if we continue to stroke for opening, we communicate to the self that is always listening that something good happened that activated a natural response of contraction. We do so with the understanding that the contraction is the signifier of the good thing, and we continue to stroke, employing deliberate approval to counteract the negative contracting bias of the tumescent mind. So it's just taking us in great detail at a very nuanced level into what it's like to just stay really present and conscious with an opening, and to communicate to the self something good happens that activated a natural response of contraction. You're hearing my Aubrey to Aubrey voice right now. Hi, something good happens and you're wanting to contract around it. Let's see if we can stay open. Everyone will have their own, special tone of voice that they use with themselves in this spot, that you can speak to yourself and you can say, okay, something good happens. Let's try and stay open. We do so with the understanding that the contraction is the signifier of the good thing, just repeating this line, and we continue to stroke, employing deliberate approval to counteract the negative contracting bias of the tumescent minds. Approval is going to be really key with really just everything on the erotic path. It just everything, but like liberally applying approval in these locations instead of beating yourself up is very, very key. With this approving attention, we deliberately go back and stroke the prior moment of greatest opening to release anything that got stuck. So we bring our attention back to the moment of opening and to the highest amount of like, oh, wow, that's a lot of good coming in. We basically retroactively go and have, more consciousness in the place where we got knocked out by the good. In this way, the flow of good can continue at the depth and intensity it was in that moment, and from there grow and deepen. The ever-present challenge is that the mind associates contracting with danger or something being wrong, and so the sensation we feel in our body is one we associate with threats. Our deliberate approval is even more vital and must be strong enough to hold the threat impact enough to convert it. I'm going to read that again. Our deliberate approval is even more vital and must be strong enough to hold the threat impact enough to convert it. So we have to have an attention and an approval strong enough to be able to kind of, carve through the knee-jerk response of wanting to close to anything new coming in, so that we don't close to the good coming in. And we have that attention and approval strong enough to really meet it and hold steady enough to convert, to alchemize or convert that sort of fearful response, that knee-jerk response, into staying open. The key to remember is that contraction is always directly proportional to the level of opening that occurred. That just feels like one of those cosmic joke kind of things. The key to remember is that contraction is always proportional to the level of opening that occurred. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just somehow funny. After contraction, we can always return to that level of opening. So that's good news. That feels great. If you weren't able to stay present and approving with it in real time and you contracted against it, you can always go back later and it's not a word, re-intimacy with it. You can always go back later and, bring your attention back inside that spot that there was a contraction to again have intimacy with it. So I don't know, that brings me great relief. I'm like, okay, I might not be able to keep up with every single moment that the good is coming in, but then when I realize later that I closed against it, I can go back and find a way to be with it later. Okay, so the thing that I felt like I landed in today around the sutra when I was reading through it, I've read through it probably 4 or 5 times in the last few days to just really get inside of it. And the thing that I felt like I landed in the most today was, it's describing a process. It's describing an intricate process that happens when you're very present with the moment to moment experience of being alive, I guess. Like if you're tuned in to how you're feeling in the moment and how you're like taking in your environment, how you're interacting and relating with people, it's giving you this like really intricate play-by-play for this process of how to stay open to, the good of life coming in, intimacy. I mean, on a really small level, you see this with something as simple as a compliment. Someone might just be like, oh, wow, like you feel great today, or you look beautiful today or something. And, a lot of times people have this kind of, oh, thanks, but we don't totally let it in. Almost like awkwardly get through receiving that, maybe store it away and feel it later, but maybe I won't totally take that in right now, or there's this the really funny one that women do with, I don't think men do this, maybe they do. I think women do this one, which is like, someone will say, I still do this. I try so hard not to, and I still do it. But someone will say like, oh, I love that skirt. And I'll say like, oh, thanks, I got it on sale. That one actually has a lot of good woman conditioning things in it to unpack. But for this, it's like, it's just that it's like any kind of deflection, so like even at that tiny level, there's that feeling of not quite wanting to let the good in on its terms, and not just, there's not this easeful opening usually of just like, ooh, yeah, give me that, like maybe in your best moment on your best day. But I see a lot of this in myself. I see a lot of this in other people. It's difficult to like in real time just let the good in. And so on that small of a scale, all the way to like the really big, really intimate things in life, some kind of incredibly beautiful, intimate experience with a partner, or like a really mind-blowing or like, like arriving into God, I've had this one a few times, just like arriving into the woman that I imagined was possible to emerge from me early on in my erotic path, when I felt very small and stuck inside and had no voice and very little ability to express myself or have a whole lot of power or, exchange with my interior world and the exterior world. The thing that kept me on the path and kept moving me forward was kind of this vision of this woman that I really wanted to emerge. And over the years, there's been these very specific like markers that some of them I was aware of working towards and wanting, like teaching for one taste and teaching, and stuff like that, like being able to do talks and things. That was like a grounded, significant one. But there's been a bunch of different ones where I'll put my head down in the game, so to speak, forget about what I'm working for in a way. And then one day I just look up and I'm like, oh my God, I arrived into that. And then that can be a lot to have, you know, and so it across this whole spectrum, there's just so much good wanting to come in. And so, yeah, the sutra walks us through this intricate process of letting it in. But the thing that is beyond the process that it's pointing to the entire time, that it touches on, and really the whole having level section, and really the whole path of Eros, but we'll stick with the having level section. The thing that it's pointing to is this like quaking, like tremoring vulnerability of just being nakedly alive and connected to an intimate and in an intimate exchange with life, and not having these buffers in between, and just sort of the tremulous, beautiful, sensitized, like stunning vulnerability of that location, and then existing like that. It's kind of this whole path, and you know, and all the things that we do are kind of leading to this experience of being able to exist without all of the extra layers of like protection, or like, you know, like a little bit of buffer here and there, you know, like this naked experience of just being able to be fully ourselves with life as it is, intimately, and making love with your whole life. And that's, you know, that's like our nature, and that's also the good wanting to come in, and that's what's available when we actually allow the good in. Is it like remakes our identity from kind of this, you know, well, mine was like, I mean, I still have this come up all the time, but mine, the, you know, woman when I came to this path was very, I mean, it was very like, you know, it's very quiet, eyes downcast, hunched, you know, like very like pulled in on myself, physically just hidden. And that as much as I love that, Aubrey, and appreciate this, just the struggle and the wrestle of her life, that identity had to be like stroked open, and every single bit of good that came in had to be, you know, to be greeted and acknowledged and ultimately open to, in order for that like shell that I hid in to fall away for this other Aubrey being to like emerge. And then now, you know, sometimes like acknowledging the good means breaking out of a shell, and sometimes it means continuing to kind of refine this, you know, this transmission and this like radiance that I aim to bring out every day. And so it's sort of a, you know, it becomes kind of a way of life. Approval, you know, finding the perfection in things, acknowledging the good, allowing myself to be intimate with life. These are all beautiful aspects of this piece and this path. So yeah, didn't do like a single story, like a one coherent story today, but touched on a number of points. So hopefully the concept is feeling graspable. And what I would love to do for the whole rest of the call is to acknowledge the good. I would love the shares today to be acknowledging the good. And so I'll give, we have women's group. We have a women's group and men's group at 1 o'clock on Sundays, on 1 o'clock Pacific time on Sundays on the platform. And we did a women's group not that long ago where we did the whole hour was just this, you know, and I think I've done it on a couple other calls too. So it's great to spend time doing this together, but a few guidelines for that. So we want you know, to kind of navigate the habitual response of wanting to not acknowledge it so that you don't totally let it in, because it's tricky. The tumescent mind is tricky. And so we're going to be smart with how we do it, right? So you want to be really specific and you want to be brief, like fairly brief. You don't have to give like a ton of context to the story. You just kind of go right to the thing, right to the moment that was so good. And that you were like, you're thinking right now, there's memories coming up and you're like, oh, I really didn't let that one in. And so you can just use this call to let the good in. So it's a specific moment of good that you would like to digest. How's that sound? Let me adjust my little screen here for a second. There we go. Okay, great. So we should be able to do a lot of these today. So I want to see some hands. I want to see all the hands. Yeah. All right. We'll start with Lisa.
Yeah, so this weekend I was at a wedding and I was in an area of town like 30 miles west of me at an after party and having an amazing time, and someone came up to me and said, Lisa, and I thought it was a patient and I got a little nervous. And he said his name and it sounded familiar, and I said, well, let me go greet this person. And I got up and then I realized that as I was walking towards him, the face and the name connected, and it was my childhood friend. His parents were best friends with my parents, and I like grabbed him like a lost brother. I started weeping because hugging him, I felt my mom's energy through that. I didn't want to let him go. And there were people around at the wedding that at the after party that I kind of knew and didn't really know. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to have this moment and I'm going to have it like all the way in, and then like we pulled away and it was so deeply intimate. And then I hugged him again and I couldn't stop holding him. And it was like really sweet. And that whole day was like that. It was like moment after moment of that. So it was a lot. It's continued. So I probably need to write 100 gratitudes, but I'll start with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Really beautiful. Thank you. Angela.
Hi, Aubrey. So I don't know, just like a few days ago, I had this really beautiful, deep, intimate experience that like blew open my whole heart in a way that I was like thinking about it, like, I don't know when the last time, maybe my daughter's father, like 20 years ago, where I experienced this connection, this profound connection between like letting my heart and my pussy be connected in such a way. And when I was driving home, I had to pull over because the wave of emotion was like my whole body was pulsing and shaking, and I started crying. And I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Like, this is so stunningly beautiful, like what I'm experiencing in my body. And, the profundity for me was like, I'm oftentimes feeling like I have these beautiful, deep, rich, mystical experiences all the time. But I don't always feel like, that's why Om is so special to me, because I don't oftentimes feel like somebody is also there feeling and experiencing what I'm there. So I just had that in a sexual experience. And there's just this way that my soul feels profoundly not as alone. But then what I did was, so are we in a relationship or what? And I like contracted into this box. And so I'm sharing today because as I was listening to the sutra, I was like, oh, this was my tumescent mind that was saying, there has to be a something for this. It can't just be a free floating, ever expanding, beautiful, good in this moment, to that moment, always getting bigger, always getting deeper, always getting richer. And I feel really great. I feel really grateful for it. And I want to let it in more and keep it open more. And yeah, my mind is like, hey, yeah, no, but that is my intention. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This is perfect math. Leah.
Hi. My brain is like, I don't need to say this one because it's so old and like whatever, but it's literally so big that it requires this much just saying it over again, probably. But there was a moment when at our last Red Thread event, I made this installation that people could like enter and walk through, and it was all red. And like I kind of stood in the corner and like watched people, kind of like an attendant. And there was a moment where it was like this quiet atmosphere and everyone was absorbing this new room that they were in and interacting with it really individually and like doing things like I did not expect. And it just felt really like a fruition of something in me that's been dormant or like waiting for a long time. And just really lovely.
Yeah, Leah. Oh my God, you said it was old and I thought you were going to do one from like childhood or something. That was like 2 weeks ago.
It was like a long time ago, it feels like.
Good digestion. We need some kind of, if anyone can come up with an invention phrase of like, cheers, but it's like, well digested. Something like that. Carol.
Hey, so I'm here in Iowa, at Maharishi University, and I shared a little bit last week. I'm living in a brand new Vastu home, and Vastu architecture lines you up with the stars and the moon, and the sun, and it's really beautiful. And you know me, I'm friendly, so I go to all the social things and I meet people, or I sit in the dining hall and I sit with people, and people are talking to me and they're like, oh my God, you're one of the people who came here and got one of those new homes. They go, you're so lucky. And I go, I can feel the like, am I deserving? Like, as that instant thing. And then I'm instantly like, I really feel lucky. And I go, but it actually was more than luck. And just acknowledging the work that I've done, like that, divinity sent me here, the feminine sent me here to do my work. And then after the conversation, they'll say, thank you so much for coming here. And I just take it in. I mean, I can feel my impulse like, who, me? But it's like I just like really am practicing like just keeping it open, staying open, and just saying thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And it's beautiful because then they open and I open, and it opens the space and everybody around, and it's really nice.
Beautiful, Carol. Thank you. Bob.
Hey, great sutra. From the last sutra study last week, I was thinking about this this moment where where I was in a huge like complaint mode, complaining to a colleague, and it was after we had, I think, probably the first trip to the the women's prison in Chowchilla earlier this year. And when you started talking about how, in the sutra, it's usually intimacy that's the difficult thing to have, that definitely was a light bulb that, went off in my head. And I was like, because I hadn't really framed it that way. It was like, oh yeah, we were successful and, we got down there and everything went smoothly. But it was actually just like, my heart was open so much, like talking to these women and hearing their stories and how they'd been in prison for 40 years. And, like the tears would just be like streaming down my face, as, most of you have witnessed when I, when something touches me that way. And, and it was like 4 days of that, something like that. I came back and I was like, this is wrong and that is wrong. But, really, it was just like, a huge expansion of my world. and and there wasn't really any acknowledgement of that, and so lately I've been trying to at least, like, if I don't have time, like, to call someone or talk to someone, I'll just use a voice memo and like say gratitudes into my little voice memo.
Yeah.
As a way to digest. But beautiful sutra. Thanks for your share.
Wow, that was a good one. Really good. Austin.
Hi. I think the moment of good I would digest is just being able to connect more with Amanda lately, and especially with some outside help, just being able to see how, like, when I dial in something from abstract to specific, how much more I can kind of experience with another person, and to like kind of what we're talking about, land inside of like a specific concrete, like grounded desire, and then be able to breathe inside that. And I think that's, such a difficult but well earned kind of experience to have with her lately.
Really nice. Thank you. Iris.
There we go. I've been feeling a lot of that recently. Like this last year, it's like everything is touching me in a way like, wow, But I want to zero in on a specific. Like, I went to Georgia to visit my son, and he has 4 young children now, and they're expecting another one. And he just bought this humongous land, like 200 acres, and got some beautiful ranch on it. And I spent 2 weeks there, and I played with the kids, and we were playing with cows and horses and all this. And all of a sudden, I just broke. My knees, like, with this gratitude, like, wow, that's what all this hard work was for. And this is my children that I'm leaving behind. And holy crap, my sons are successful. And it was just such a wash. Like, I'm over there crying in front of my grandma. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm happy crying. There was a happy crying, so that they kind of understood the happy crying. It's just the place where I just involuntarily just woof, and it was coming up from the root, of course, and I felt this little energy just coming out of the earth and just showing me that it's just so much bigger than me, and everything is just so much bigger than what's going on, and so why not accept everything? It's the way it has to be. It is, So that place where I felt the energy coming, like, from the bottom all the way up. And it was total gratitude, So, and I've gotten a lot of that this year. Yes. So yeah, that's what I got to hear.
Beautiful. Thank you, Iris.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on in a second, but it is 12:40. And so we've got still a good amount of time for these. And every time I do a call like this, we always hit about this time. And people are like, well, I don't know if I have any, or I don't know if I need to speak up or whatever. And then if we push through this part and just get so many more hands, you guys will not even believe how incredibly group digested it will feel. You will go about your day feeling like $1 million. So just, we're going to push on through and keep going and keep doing these for like another 15 minutes. So get your hand up. Sophia.
Okay, great. Well, I think, okay, I'll go. Let's see, I had a moment. I really love this call. But I had a moment this weekend. My mom came and stayed with me and my husband. And usually when my mom and I get together, it's at her house. And so we did the kind of typical, she's like, hi, I would like to see you. Will you come down? And I was like resisting. And then I finally was like, hey, what if you came here? And I just kind of like,
I knew this was going to happen on at least one of them. I knew we were going to blow out on one of them.
shared the desire for her to come talk. it was kind of funny because I don't know about this and I don't know. And there's this feeling of like, you know, where she was like, what about this thing? And I was like, no, you don't see me here and I don't see. And then at some point, my husband just pulled me aside and was like, hey, you're a little defensive and argumentative. And, you know, what if he tried something different? And then I was going to be like, hey, how dare you, you know, and then I wanted to do that same thing with him. And instead I just let it in and I was like, that's true. And then I called a friend and was like, maybe she'll side with me. She did not. And she also said something like, what if instead you opened here and you actually opened to like the love that's between you? And after having both of these people who I like, you know, brought into my corner, I opened with her, and it was so not what I was expecting, because I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to open with her. And then I started asking her questions and I'm like, see, this is why I can't open with her, because of her responses. And then in a moment, I just had this feeling of like, oh, like, this is like, who is the woman that I actually want to be in this moment? And I just opened and like started sharing with her. And it was like the whole feeling just totally like 360 degrees shifted. And yeah, it's, oh my God, there's so much love between my mom and I, and so much that it's like whenever I digest something, it's like it's even hard to stay open inside of the digestion of it. But I just felt really grateful that like that I have so many people around me that see me, and then yeah, and just remind me who I want to be in every single moment. So grateful for a lot of different moments inside of that experience.
Thanks, Sophia. I just realized I skipped over Yana somehow. Let's go to Yana.
Oh, okay. Thank you. My first little gratitude is Sharon going after me saying, put your hand up, put your hand up. So I know it's not because you didn't want me to say anything. And then, so last week, you know, we had floods in Brooklyn, had this much water in the basement, and then the Canadians with their fires and the smoke. So there was like mold down there and smoke up there. It was really upsetting. And I was just sitting there going, I just want some men to come and just clean up the basement and help me in the garden. And my husband's in Florida. And yesterday, the men just showed up, and just like in their most beautiful masculine presence, too powerful. And my husband's still in Florida. And he just, like, the amount of, enthusiasm and just sheer strength that they put into it, and just got so much crap out of the basement. And we took down so many branches, and all I did was, and I kept thinking, oh, I have to remember to pay back. I have to remember that I can say I can do the same thing for you. And then it's like, no, your gratitude is in reception. And it was so wonderful to just be able to express my gratitude and awe at the help and support that I've gotten. So, and I'm still buzzing with that, going from like this almost desperate place to this place of, oh my fucking God, this miracle happened. And it feels so good to have this much support.
Thanks, Yana.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, we have so many hands now. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Who's 415-601-3693. Would you like to go?
That would be me. It's Marcy. Hi.
Marcy.
One of the opening to the good, having level 1. Everyone is digesting good. Everyone is digesting good. I just texted Karen for the actual sutra because I missed it. Seems like we're just using gratitude to help digest. Is that the spirit here, Aubrey?
Yeah, you
I
just
have a good one. Yeah.
Acknowledging one specific.
Yeah. So there was a moment this morning when I was driving to my piano class, and I was listening to the song that I'm working on in class, which is from a musical. It's called On a Clear Day. And I was driving, it's a song that I'm learning because I want to be prepared. Oh, I want to learn it from my parents in honor of how much they contributed to my appreciation of music and musical theater from like such a young age. And my mom is 90, my dad's 92. So I also want to have it in my back pocket to play and then sing when their time that they pass at their services. And I was driving in the neighborhood. I saw all these Halloween decorations, and my parents, my mom, they've never been one to decorate. I didn't have a Christmas tree growing up. It was like no decorations. And there's a part of me that's been kind of like, huh. But then I just was like, oh, I so appreciate that. I didn't even care in that moment, because I realized how much I've gotten from like what they did give me. And so I called my mom just to let her know that I'm working on this song and how much I appreciate her. And she kind of understood the Halloween thing when I told her that, but I was able to share it with her. And then afterwards, we hung up and I walked into my piano class, and I was just I couldn't contain, like, with, like the tears just came running down my, and because my heart was open so much. And a friend of mine in class, she turned to me and she kind of looked at like, oh, are you okay? Like I and I was like, I'm fine. But her mom died a couple years ago, and there was a little part of me that was like, oh, I shouldn't really tell her why my heart is bursting open. Like, it's weird when I express a love for my folks, but I'm around people whose parents have passed. So it's this strange sort of complexity. But it felt so good to share that with my mom, and the intimacy of sharing how much I love someone or appreciate someone. I'm wondering, like, somehow I have this goal, like I'll be able to do that without completely bawling. I have some story that it's because my attachment style is all messed up that I can't barely like sit there with love, Marcy, without melting.
Stay in the good.
What'd you say? Stay in the good.
Stay in the good.
Maybe just as I'm sharing, or
yeah, right now.
What?
Yeah, right now. The practice of
okay, right now.
You crushed it.
Yeah.
Let the two mess of mine take over.
Oh, I can barely understand what you're saying. The reception's bad. But yes, so good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell my mom more.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Thanks, Marcy. All right, let's see. We've got like 5 minutes left. So let's go to Frank. Frank, do you like it Franck or Frank?
You can say both. Frank is the French pronunciation, but I'm very used to the English one, because the Frank that you're pronouncing is without the C. Yeah. So thank you. So my gratitude is something that it's just starting to digest. I had such a great manager, and it was really coaching me and pushing me to put myself out there. I'm not the type of person to be on the spotlight, and although the company is going through a kind of very cautious kind of financial year, we've been told that we're not going to receive any bonus, and my manager put me forward, and I actually got a maximum bonus. And when I received the money, I was like, okay, I wasn't really excited, but it's only now that I had a long conversation with my mom this morning, waking up with the line. I said, look, I'm so grateful. Like I've never been in California, I've never been in San Francisco, I've never been in the land, I never met with any of the people I usually see on the calls. And now I'm here and I'm enjoying myself, and I enjoying myself with my wife, Aneka, she's also on the call. And I'm like, this is just amazing. I'm just starting to sink in, kind of like, having the gratitude and the reception of it, not my usual dismissing, like, yeah, I've worked hard for this, or I'm not kind of entitled, but like, yeah, it happened, and so what? So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Really beautiful. Thank you. Dylan.
Hi, Aubrey. Hi, everyone. Actually, for me, it reminds me of something that happened 2 years ago. As you know, I don't have a good relationship with my family. And my sister at that time did something really terrible to me about my dog. Sadly passed away. And in my mind, I thought, I don't want to see that girl anymore. I don't want to talk with her husband. Nothing. And she got pregnant. I think it was a month or 2 months ago, 2 months after that. And my dad told me, "Are you gonna see the baby?" And I said, "No, I don't want anything to do with her or her family." Which, comes to think of it, was stupid because she was an innocent baby. She wasn't even born. And so I kept this stupid mind I met. And I remember it was a day when I was late for an appointment, and my sister was hinting at the home, and a little girl was right in front of me. I never saw her before. She was a year and a half, and I swear to God, it's true. She looked at me straight in my eyes, and she do something like this. I swear it's the truth. And I start laughing, and she came to the she came to the home 3 months later, and she looked at me. She said she did this. I hugged her, and I didn't want to let her go, you know. And even last summer, my sister lived in my parents' home for 9 months, and I was so good because I played with her every day. Even even last week she came, and she came to my room. She looked at my grease wall, and she said, "That's Sandy." Yes, that's Danny Tuko. I said, "Yes, that's true." And she said, "I want to watch cartoons with you." And my point is, like I said, for days I have this stupid mind, like I don't want anything to do with them. And right now, I really love my niece, you know. I can't imagine not being with her. Like,
Got in there. She
for
got in your heart.
instance.
Aw. Thank you, Dylan. Thank you. Last quick one, Emmett.
Hi. I've been digesting a relationship recently and just like feeling like all these places where I wanted to close and just like I'm like feeling out of control with my heart, and that's not allowed. And so just gonna like and I was driving back from getting my hair cut and had this moment just on 128 of like, oh, I really have to be honest about how much I really have enjoyed my life and how much good there's been in it, and just to sort of like just like having a real honest sort of look at myself and yeah, just loving like when the heart gives back in those moments, and know it's really always, it's always there.
Thanks, Emmett.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, good work. Excellent work. Having level section of the principles complete. Great job. Back to you, Maya.
Thank you, Aubrey. Beautiful sutra study, everybody. So the thing I would just want to let everybody know about is that we have a really, really wonderful Tibetan Buddhist retreat coming up starting next week for a few weeks. And so anyone and everyone that is on here that would like to visit the land, that would like to come and experience Tibetan Buddhism, no level of prior experience is required. Everyone is welcome. We would love to have you. It starts on the 16th and it goes for a few weeks. And so anyone who can make it, we would love to have you. We have an amazing Tibetan Buddhist teacher. His name is Changwa. And he's been studying for many, many years. And we've been studying with him for 2 years, and he was just here. And it's just a beautiful experience. We do fire pujas, we do practices, and then the experience here at the land itself is just one of this kind of warm community. You have amazing food that is prepared, and we get to eat communally. And so anyone who's looking for some time to explore and go deep within yourself, we would love to have you. So that is coming up. And then we will now end with Leah and our closing dedication.
Dedication. We dedicate our excellence, our resourcefulness, our creativity, and our resilience to the building of the mandala and the awakening of the feminine pole. May all women everywhere recognize they are made of power and become willing to carry the weight of it, wielding it with joy for the mandala of humankind.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.